National Security Council is conducting an in-depth review, along with technical experts working to determine how this reporter was inadvertently added to this chat. The conversation was candid and sensitive, but as the President National Security Advisor stated, no classified information was shared. There were no sources, methods, locations, or war plans that were shared.
But CNN, Brian Seltzer, has declared it to be classified. They've got a show called The Situation Room. They must be able to declare stuff to be classified. The news media says it's classified. The government says it's not. Some kind of news media we've got here. Well, very good Wednesday once again, and welcome back. You know, he played Susan Rice of the Clinton and Obama administrations a little bit earlier, who declared absurdly that this was the biggest national security debacle anyone can remember. That is, if you can't remember anything, if you've got CRS, can't remember stuff like the Afghanistan withdrawal. Now, how about Joe Biden funneling billions and billions to Iran? Shouldn't that be considered to be a national security debacle? They're the ones funding the Houthis firing on American ships going into the Red Sea and headed toward the Suez Canal. The Biden administration left Afghanistan in the hands of the Taliban and the Chinese. Remarkable stuff. And pay no attention to that, the Democrats. And keep in mind that Susan Rice, she is famous for lying to us all about the Benghazi attack, where 4 Americans were murdered by jihadis, and Hillary Clinton and the Obama administration didn't lift a finger to save the Americans that they placed in harm's way. Hey, how about an F-16 out of Italy? You think maybe we could do a nice low fly over here? And they did nothing. They didn't lift a finger. A very good movie made about that whole episode. But it was Susan Rice who went on. She actually went on 8 different Sunday shows, Sunday morning news shows, they used to be called, where she lied to the American people again and again. And then they sent the pathological liar, total fraud of a national security quack. They sent her out to lie to us all about what they had perpetrated in Benghazi. And then they bombed the country they said, remember Barack Obama said we'd bomb for days and not weeks. Then they bombed for 8 months. And the news media was fine with that because hey, who's counting? Who's counting? But Susan Rice went on 8 different Sunday shows in one day, lied about Benghazi every single time, texting back and forth with my friend Seton Motley about this, too. Remarkable stuff. The Democrats, as Sebastian Gorka said, were it not for double standards, liberals would have no standards at all. Let's get back to some of the crazy Democrats because, they're. So Susan Rice came out and lied pathologically again. Oh, this is the greatest national security debacle anyone can remember. If you're brain damaged, if you're Joe Biden and you can't remember stuff, can't remember anything. Let's go to Chuck Schumer, the Lizard King, the radical extremist Democrat. He's Jewish and he hates the Jews. What's with him? He's a Democrat. Chuck Schumer. Oh, no, we've got to never mind all the debacles of the Biden administration and funding the enemies of civilization with billions of our dollars. Never mind the war starting against Ukraine because Joe Biden was so spineless and lily-livered. The war against Israel, which is still ongoing. Amazing stuff. The Lizard King, Chuck Schumer.
The Senate, as well as all relevant authorities within the executive branch, must investigate this incident fully.
Yeah.
Fully. We need the Senate to do it.
Yeah, Senate.
I hope Senator Thune will join me in that.
He won't.
We also need the IG of the DOD to do it as well.
IG of the DOD. I love that kind of talk, don't you? Where he lives, that turns chicks on. The Lizard King. Ooh, he said the IG at the DOD. Ooh, how Washington. You know, the Inspector General of the Department of Defense. What a bunch of hacks these people are. Yesterday at the big hearing on Capitol Hill, the director of the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, at the hearing said, hey, you know, they're yelling out. The Democrats are pounding the table, pretending to be indignant. They're just trying to gin up another phony attack. That, we're going to have to impeach. They're going to talk impeachment before the end of the day today, no doubt, because the little fascists are going to take a break from burning Tesla dealerships like the terrorists that they are. John Ratcliffe, CIA director, former member of the House of Representatives. Nobody asked him, but he decided to answer anyway. Your first day at the CIA, did they tell you anything, like what kind of technology you should use?
So that we're clear, one of the first things that happened when I was confirmed as CIA director was Signal was loaded onto my computer at the CIA, as it is for most CIA officers. One of the things that I was briefed on very early, Senator, was by the CIA records management folks about the use of Signal as a permissible work use. It is. That is a practice that preceded the current administration to the Biden administration.
No, we're going to have to cut you off. What do you mean the Biden administration was using Signal? What do you mean the CIA? One of the first things they did was load Signal on your computer. The records management people. Oh, yeah, this is Signal. This is what we use. And it turns out, I didn't know this until yesterday. I was down at Newsmax and talking to people. And I'm told everybody in Washington uses Signal. Reporters use Signal to talk to sources. It's confidential. It's, so everybody's using it. I'm not. Yeah, the social media makes me. I'm not thrilled with all the social. As I like to say, social media isn't. Friendly fire isn't. Common sense isn't. And, of course, the Democratic Party isn't. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, who is a friend of America, good guy, Oklahoma, 3 mixed martial arts fights himself, MMA fights. He won all 3. Good stuff. And then he wanted to raise an important question, I think, of, hey, you Democrats are real upset about a text thread that somehow a left-wing terrorist radical supporter jumped on, and we got to find out who put him on. And for how long was he on that thread? And does he have a duty or an obligation to reveal himself when he finds himself peeking in the girls' locker room through the crack in the door? Senator Mark Wayne Mullen.
They didn't say really a whole lot about the Houthis when they were attacking our warships 174 times since 2023, while President Biden literally sat in the White House on his hands like this, did nothing. Now that the Trump administration has decided to take action, instead of saying thank you for protecting our men and women that are on our ships every single day, instead of saying that, they're focusing on a Signal chat.
Yeah, well, that's because they're political snakes. They're reptiles like Chuck Schumer. They're reptilian. They could be space alien reptilians, but they're most certainly not on our side. And they're so drunk with power and they so crave power to abuse, which is all they do with it. Remarkable stuff. Then the National Security Advisor, Michael Waltz, who, again, Army colonel, Special Forces, combat veteran, National Security Advisor, Michael Waltz. Hey, but what you got Jeffrey Goldberg on this call, and it traces back to your account somehow. So what's up with that, National Security Advisor Michael Waltz?
This one in particular, I've never met, don't know, never communicated with, and we are looking into and reviewing how the heck he got into this room. But I'll tell you what, the world owes President Trump a favor. President Trump took decisive action with his national security team, took out the head missileer, knocked out missiles, knocked out headquarters, knocked out communication sites. And for once, as we hear, as you all hear from every one of our allies, thank God for American leadership again. Thank God for American strength.
Took out the head missileer. You don't hear the word missileer being used every day. That's fun. The head missile guy. Isn't that amazing? And that was Michael Walls yesterday. And then he went on the Laura Ingraham program on the Fox News channel last night. And it's the, how did this guy get on the thread? It allegedly traces back to your account. What's up with that?
Have you ever had somebody's contact that shows their name and then you have somebody else's number there?
I never make those mistakes.
Right? You got somebody else's number on someone else's contact. So of course I didn't see this loser in the group. It looked like someone else. Now whether he did it deliberately or it happened in some other technical mean is something we're trying to figure out.
And Michael Walls said we're trying to figure it out. He was going way out of his way last night to not blame a staffer, which is what we were told yesterday. It was one of his staffers who apparently made the actual physical connection between Goldberg and the group text thread. We need that person's name, and that is the source of the river on all that. But he was going way out of his way, saying, listen, this is on me. It's got my name on it. He's not trying to pass the buck like a Democrat. Amazing, amazing stuff. He's being the good guy. President Trump was asked about it at the White House yesterday. And, hey, you got this Goldberg guy. He's the guy who said that you called American troops killed in World War II losers and President Trump.
It happened to know the guy's a total sleazebag. The Atlantic is a failed magazine.
Who's talking
does
over
very,
it?
very poorly. Nobody gives a damn about it. This gives it a little bit of a shot. And I will tell you this, that they've made up more stories, and they're just a failing magazine. The public understands that.
The public understands that. And President Trump, he's more comfortable than ever before us. It's good stuff. Now, President Trump was then asked about, because he never stops doing a press conference. He's done more press than Joe Biden in 2 months. What do we have, 2 months and a couple of days? Because February, shortest month of the year, ends on April Fool's Day, as Marion Barry used to say. It doesn't end on April Fool's Day, in case you're a Democrat trying to follow the Gregorian calendar, which the government rejects, but never mind that. So President Trump was asked about his national security advisor, Michael Waltz, since the Democrats are trying to point missiles at him.
Do you think that Mike Waltz made a mistake, and does he need to apologize?
No, I don't think he should apologize. I think he's doing his best. It's equipment and technology that's not perfect, and probably he won't be using it again, at least not in the very near future. What do you think?
That's sure. I agree with you. Let's get everybody in the room whenever possible.
Whenever possible. Hegseth. Oh, I apologize. That was National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. So, let's get everybody in the room. Same room instead of these ridiculous social media things. Now, J.D. Vance said, hey, they're talking about the Europeans and how maybe the Europeans, since 3% of U.S. trade runs through the Suez Canal, but 40% of European trade goes through the Suez Canal. And President Trump was asked, because during the text thread, the conversation went with Pete Hegseth and with J.D. Vance initiating this. Europeans got a dog in this fight. Maybe they should be on the hook for something. And President Trump was asked by a fake reporter, hey, do you think Europe is freeloading? They don't pay their way in NATO and they don't get a lot done. So think NATO is, the European allies are freeloading on us?
The Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, and J.D. Vance, the Vice President, said that the Europeans were freeloading. Do you agree with that assessment?
Do you really want me to answer that? Yeah, I think they've been freeloading.
Yeah, I think they've been freeloading. He said that because it's true. And it's time, long overdue, actually, that we had this discussion with our friends in Europe. It genuinely is. And President Trump is at long last having that conversation. Good. Overdue. About time. Are you a yo-yo dieter? You diet, you lose weight, but then you gain it all back again, plus a few extra pounds. Then later you lose some, and then you regain it again and again. Well, breaking free of your yo-yo diet pattern is a main reason that doctors created Lean from Brick House Nutrition. It's a supplement, not an injection, and you don't need a prescription either. The science behind Brickhouse Nutrition's Lean is very impressive. It's studied natural ingredients, target weight loss, and 3 powerful ways. Lean helps to maintain healthy blood sugar levels. It helps to control appetite and craving. It helps to burn fat by converting fat into energy. And listen, if you're tired of losing weight again and again, gaining it back, losing it again, if you want to lose meaningful weight at a healthy pace, Lean was created for you. And let me get you started with 20% off when you enter PLANT20. That's me, PLANTE 20 at takelean.com. The code is PLANT20 at takelean.com. The statements and products have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease and is not a substitute or alternative for care from a healthcare professional. Now, the Democrats, they just want to fight because they're doing so horribly in the polls that they don't want to fight the Houthis or the Iranians, God forbid, or Hamas. They want to fight Republicans because all they want is power, because that's where their money comes from. What do you hear this crazy racist Democrat? She's still coming up, too. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. So the Democrats, it's lawfare and firing on Fort Sumter and firebombing everything they don't like. Now we have the radical left-wing extremists at Politico. They're sleeping with all the Democrat Party people. Kyle Cheney typing over there. Judge targeted by Trump is assigned to Signalgate lawsuit. Now, first of all, the Democrats have labeled it Signalgate. You got to attach gate because Watergate, the Democrat Party's greatest victory. And only because they lost the Civil War, though. Judge targeted by Trump is assigned to a Signalgate lawsuit. They already have a lawsuit going, lawfare. Judge James Boasberg, the Yale University Skull and Bones Obama appointee, political litmus test by Obama. Judge James Boasberg, who's the guy that tried to turn around those gang member airplanes, bring them back, free the Venezuelan gangs in my daughter's junior high school locker room. Judge James Boasberg will preside over a case alleging that Trump administration officials violated federal record-keeping laws when they used Signal to discuss military plans. I just played the soundbite of the CIA director saying they installed it in his computer day one at CIA. Well, the Democrats, this is the second American Civil War, I fear. The Democrat Party. Chuck Schumer is trying. Now, look, Chuck Schumer, the Democrats want him thrown out as the Democrat leader in the Senate, so he's in a gender panic. He's the reptile king. And the Democrat Party has never seen such low poll numbers. I played them for you yesterday on CNN. Oh, no, Democrats have never had such low poll numbers, and the Republicans have never had such high poll numbers. So the Democrats are trying to make a bomb in Washington, D.C. These people are left-wing filth. And also remember the Lizard King, the Democrat reptilian leader in the Senate. He's, I think, the exalted Cyclops now of the Democrat Party's KKK. And we got their black KKK, too, because she's coming up as well. Chuck Schumer on how he and Joe Biden stacked the courts with judges who are political hacks for the left, that is to say, for the Democrat Party.
We put 235 progressive judges not under the control of Trump last year on the bench, and they are ruling against Trump time after time after time.
One of the judges that is ruling against Trump time after time is an Obama appointee, and Politico, with the headline just minutes ago, "Judge targeted by Trump." He wasn't targeted by Trump. Assigned to Signalgate. They call it Signalgate. The texting app is called Signal. And let's go back to the CIA director, John Ratcliffe, talking about his first day at CIA. The first thing they did was sit him down and tell him to start using Signal on his computer.
So that we're clear, one of the first things that happened when I was confirmed as CIA director was Signal was loaded onto my computer at the CIA.
Other than that, there's no reason to think that would be okay. Judge James Boasberg will provide over case alleging, this is the Democrats' warfare, that Trump administration officials violated federal record-keeping laws. Hey, wait a minute. They violation of record-keeping laws when they used Signal, which the CIA director, the boss at CIA, was told immediately, this is what we use, right, to discuss military plans. Here it is, and now the journalists and the people at Atlantic need to be rounded up by the FBI and I think put in a gulag out west somewhere. So the people at Politico say, U.S. District Judge James Boasberg, the object, he doesn't immediately say an Obama appointee, the object of President Donald Trump's fury for blocking his effort to summarily deport Venezuelan nationals. Why summarily? And aren't they Venezuelan gang members? Are all Venezuelan gang members? You racist? What kind of a racist is Kyle Cheney? Using wartime powers just got a second crack at the administration's handling of national security, they do love their colons, Signalgate. I got to tell you, I think that the Justice Department needs to announce that charges have been filed against Joe Biden and everyone in his national security apparatus for funneling billions of taxpayer dollars to Iran and the Ayatollahs, named the number one state sponsor of terror by every administration for quite some time now. Joe Biden funneling billions of our dollars to the Ayatollahs in Iran, who are funding the Houthis in Yemen, who are funding Hamas in Gaza, who are funding Hezbollah in Lebanon, and Joe Biden is funding them with U.S. tax dollars. Everyone must go to prison. Everyone must be arrested. Let's just start listing the laws that they broke when they were funding Iran with U.S. tax dollars. It's time for charges, pre-dawn raids, rifles, masks, helmets with flashlights on them. I love those flashlights on the helmets. So James Boasberg gets a second crack at the administration Senate. They are political whores. And I'd like to apologize to normal prostitutes who aren't as bad as these people. Boasberg on Wednesday morning was assigned to provide over a lawsuit, they don't say by whom, alleging that Trump cabinet secretaries and national security aides violated federal record-keeping laws when they used a Signal chat group assigned to the CIA director by the CIA the day that he was confirmed as CIA director to discuss planned military strike in Yemen, and inadvertently included an Atlantic journalist in the group. Doesn't name him either. This isn't journalism. This is a press release for the Democrat Party by Politico. Listen to this. The twist of legal fate, and they tell you to believe what is utterly implausible. The twist of legal fate arrived just as the scandal exploded further. It's a scandal. It exploded further with the Atlantic's release of the full text exchange. But he was just named a patriot by CNN for not revealing, and then the secret plans. And then we need to find the criminal that connected And it's going to be a Democrat that connected the Atlantic journalist to this thread. So the twist of legal fate, they're lying, arrived just as the scandal exploded further with the Atlantic's release of the full text exchange. At what point was he obligated to say, hey, I'm not supposed to be on this? He should be arrested immediately. FBI raid, rifles. I'd hate to see his dog be shot, but there it is during the pre-dawn raid. I know it's too late for a pre-dawn raid today, but tomorrow there could be a pre-dawn raid. And what happened there? Well, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth previewed with specific references to timing and weapons an attack on Houthi militants. Now, again, this is a platform that all of the national security people were using during the Biden years. But isn't it amazing that Jeffrey Goldberg wasn't looped in during the Biden years, or if he was, we never heard about it. Was he looped in regularly? Is this the first time? Has anybody asked him? Because we don't have journalists in America. We have jihadis for the Democrat Party. A spokesperson for Judge Boasberg, he's got a spokesperson, confirmed that the case was assigned to him, listen to this, through the court's typical random assignment process. And this is the people at Politico just dutifully parrot whatever the Democrat Party wants parroted. There are 20 judges on the federal district court bench in Washington, D.C., and Boasberg was randomly assigned. Of course, the Democrats try to make them all Democrats, the judges. The assignment of the case to Boasberg comes just 2 days after the Trump administration, in the Venezuelan deportation case, invoked state secrets privilege to refuse to share details with the Obama-appointed judge about the timing of deportation flights to El Salvador. They mentioned way down here, buried in the story, that he's an Obama-appointed judge. Boasberg is pressing the administration for details about the flights to determine whether officials violated his order earlier this month, barring Trump from deporting people. You mean Venezuelan gang members with Tren de Aragua under the Alien Enemies Act, a 1798 law, last invoked during World War II. Is that when the Democrats put all the Japanese Americans in concentration camps? Is that the last time it was used? And who was it yesterday? Another Democrat judge, it was a Clinton-appointed judge, saying Nazis were treated better during World War II than these poor Venezuelan gang members with Tren de Aragua. Right? And then I told you about the story of the Germans that sneaked ashore on Long Island, New York. They were arrested and they were executed within days, put to death. But the Nazis were treated better, according to this fatuous idiot judge.
Nazis got better treatment under the Alien Enemy Act than has happened here.
Yeah, Patricia Millett, Democrat judge. Yeah, the Nazis were treated better. If you consider the death penalty carried out immediately to be treated better than being flown to El Salvador, these people are stupid, ignorant. They have no understanding of history whatsoever. They're not on our side. They're not the good guys. Boy, I am telling you. All right, let's. I haven't taken a phone call in quite a while, have I? No, I haven't. Let's go to Bob, calling from Arlington, Virginia. Oh, Bob, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
I'm here. I just wanted to report that last week, I am not on Signal. Don't use Signal. Don't know how to spell Signal. But last week, my iPhone rang. The identity said somebody I speak to daily. I answered the call. When I answered the call, it was not the person that I speak to daily. It was two other gentlemen. One of them, and they were talking about the White House press room and activities. And one of them sounded like our friend, Sean Spicer. We all recognize his voice. We've all listened to him forever. My point, electrons through this phone systems do weird stuff. And that's happened to me twice now. That's all I wanted to say.
I had two conversations yesterday with people One at Newsmax, sitting at the desk at the table, and guy sitting next to me, his phone, everybody always has their phone in their hand. And he said, I'm getting another one of these. This is the fourth one of these I got today. Looks like it's coming from a number that I recognize. And then you pick it up, and it's beep, beep. It's coming from India or the Philippines, and it's a scam. It's a fix. It's a put on. It might be a hack. It might be malware. And the woman sitting next to him said, I've had 5 or 6 of those in the last 2 days. And when I mentioned that to my best girl last night, she said, I've had at least 6 in the last week. People trying to wheedle their way in. And all of this stuff is going all over. But I got to tell you, Bob, we need the name of the person to identify the person that connected this Atlantic journalist, because right now I don't believe it's an accident.
Concur.
Right? And there's
I'm a conspiracy theorist big time, and you're right. Somebody weaseled that electron base in.
Yeah. Yeah. That's serious stuff. And these, but I've got to say, this is not a random call from India or Pakistan, and it's not malware. How did this anti-Trump, frothy, rabid anti-Trump activist, fake journalist find his way onto this thread? It wasn't Michael Waltz that did it, the National Security Advisor, former member of the House of Representatives, Army Special Forces, decorated veteran. He's not the one that did it. But who did? Because that's getting everything. And the Democrats are, we need Chuck Schumer. We need a special committee. Everybody needs to be fired. The news media is saying everybody needs to be fired. And now we've got Judge Boasberg, Skull and Bones, Snake Boy. These guys, I got to tell you, these are very, very corrupt times. Very corrupt times. I've got to tell you, I have right in my hand, I have my mailbag questions. And I've got to say, because this has been happening so fast today, I'm not going to be able to give a proper amount of time to my mailbag questions. So I'm going to have to move the mailbag to tomorrow. And I regret having to do that. But with everything popping and the news story today with all the details, and we got another intelligence hearing on Capitol Hill today, and just a lot of moving parts. I tell you. Thank you, Bob. Yeah, that's, honestly. Let's go to soundbite number 17. Radical, racist, trash on fire Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. Have you seen the video of her speaking normally? She sounds like a member of the British royal family who went to private schools all her life, which she did. And then you turn the corner and she starts talking like ghetto trash, which she's a big fan of doing. But here's Democrat Congresswoman, and it's fake. The point is, it's fake. If it were genuinely where she came from, that would be one thing. But when you see her speaking normally and she sounds like me, then you see her putting this stuff on. But here she is at the Human Rights Council, a gay dinner, calling Governor Greg Abbott, Republican, Texas. She's from Texas, member of House of Representatives. Greg Abbott was crushed by a tree when he was out jogging one day and is paralyzed and is in a wheelchair. And she's mocking him, and they're all clapping. Oh, yeah, we're mocking a man who was crippled by a tree and is in a wheelchair.
We in these hot-ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot-ass mess, honey. So yes.
Yes, that's she's Jasmine Crockett. She's a Democrat. She's in the House of Representatives. Governor Abbott is in a wheelchair, and this is the level. Honestly, it feels like 1860 around here, doesn't it? And Governor Abbott responded to her last night.
The reality is they have no vision, no policy. They have nothing to sell but hate. And Americans are not buying it. It's one reason why Texas is going to remain red and why Republicans are going to continue to win elections across the country. Republican states like Texas are leading the way. And with comments like this by Democrats, we will just leave them in the dust in future elections.
Trash on fire. Just trash on fire. I had to tell you, Maxine Waters was at it yesterday, too. She's quite the historian as well. The Democrats we have an idiocracy. It's a cacistocracy. The Democrat Party is an anti-American, un-American, communistic, socialist, anti-democratic, anti-sovereignty party. They are not on our side. And if we had a news media, call them every time they lied, call them on it. The news media would be busy with that. I know it keeps me very busy for 4 hours a day. Now, a hearing today on Capitol Hill I mentioned earlier on funding for National Panhandler Radio and the Panhandler Broadcasting System. And the Democrat Party's hero, just trash on fire, TOF. Jasmine Crockett, she's in this hearing yelling and ranting and raving and cursing, and we had to bleep her because she's trash on fire. It sounded like this.
Free speech is not about whatever it is that y'all want somebody to say. And the idea that you want to shut down everybody that is not Fox News is bull. We need to stop playing.
Now, that's absolutely nowhere in the neighborhood of what we're talking about here. It's taxpayer-funded. Fox News is not taxpayer-funded. My show is not taxpayer-funded. A 3-hour radio show across town with a staff of 33 people and a sushi chef is taxpayer-funded. I shouldn't be paying for it out of my pocket, but that's what the Democrats want because they're basically commie pinkos. They want, you know. And before I leave, I want to leave you with Maxine Waters, who's another Democrat in good standing. Now, Melania Trump was born in Slovenia, in what was then Yugoslavia, part of the USSR, the Soviet Union. And her parents, as far as I know, never moved to the United States, but Maxine Waters.
If he wants to start looking so closely to find those who were born here and their parents were undocumented, maybe he ought to first look at Melania. We don't know whether or not her parents were documented.
Yeah, she was born in Slovenia under the communists and fled, and unfortunately, she found something very similar here. Maxine Waters, she should be deported.